Welcome to the Urban Agriculture Grant Program office hours. I'm sorry, there's also people who are now in the waiting room. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go over each track, the eligibility, the funding details, including the grant term, the award amount, and allowable costs and reporting requirements. And then quickly, we'll go over what the application section looks like with what scoring is attached to that application section, and just a little understanding of the overall grant timeline. So the purpose of the Urban Agriculture Grant Program is to award competitive grants to support projects that enhance the viability of urban agriculture in urban areas. The funding priorities are going to be for projects that are led by or serve priority populations as defined by the California Air Resources California Climate Investment Priority Populations Map, and there are links to that on the website and in the RFP. Priority will be given to projects whose benefits expand beyond the individual and projects that clearly display one or more of the benefits of urban agriculture. There are two funding tracks in this program: Systems Builder Community-Based Block Grant and the Urban Agriculture Practitioners Grant. You may only apply to one of the tracks, so no, you may not apply to both. If you're receiving a track 2 award, you cannot also receive track 1 sub-award funding, and that'll be more clear as we go through these slides. You may absolutely apply if you have an existing grant with CDFA. And if you apply for track 2 but do not receive an award, you may still apply to be a sub-awardee from a track 1 funded organization in your region. The track 1 community-based block grant, community-based organizations with will be I'm going to back up here. So track 1 will fund community-based organizations with grassroots involvement in urban and regional food systems planning. And this is to help increase their capacity to create and administer a sub-award program to stakeholders in their region. And so the tasks involved with track 1 applications are to design a sub-award application. And so we're really encouraging folks to keep this simple. It could be an interview, a short written application, a site visit. So aside from designing sub-award application process, folks will develop a communication strategy to let people know in their region that this opportunity is available. Funding can also help to employ staff to build and develop the systems builder block grant model. And then, of course, organizations will then distribute sub-awards to no less than 2 urban agriculture stakeholders in their region, but there is no maximum number. A minimum of 1 community-based organization will be funded per region, and a minimum of 1 community-based organization will be funded with statewide reach. And here we have a list of the regions. We did just recently, last week, add the Inland Empire, and that includes San Bernardino and Riverside counties. So that is a new region that has been added. But aside from that, there are the Sacramento region, Bay Area, Fresno, Los Angeles, Inland Empire, San Diego, and then the statewide organization reach. The grant term is expected to be around April through September. And the funding range is between $200,000 to $800,000. The allowable costs are going to include the staffing needed to create, advertise, and administer sub-awards to underserved urban ag stakeholders in their region, and no less than and also organizations will be allowed to spend between $5,000 to $60,000 of the funding on their internal urban ag projects. So let's say a track 1 community-based organization also has a community garden project, and they would like to get some sheds or do whatever it is that they need for that project. They may use a range from $5,000 to $60,000 for their own internal project. The rest of it will go to sub-awards. The reporting requirements for this are an annual report that would be made within at the end of the first 12 months of their project. There will be a final report, which is a standalone report that will report on the entirety of the project. There is going to be quarterly check-ins, and that's just really for us to be able to help you with what's working and what CDFA can do to support. And then evaluation, including survey collection, data collection, that will be agreed upon during the contracts phase of the award period. So the track 1 application overview, I'll just quickly read off the headers of the areas of the application where there are points attached. And so each application is going to be reviewed by 2 to 3 external reviewers, and they will be giving points to these sections. So the first section is urban ag in the local food system, and that is for 15 points. The second section is food systems evaluation work, and that's for 10 points. Again, I just want to reiterate that these slides will be available. They are available already on our website, so I won't take up too much time reading every single sentence on them, just giving you a general overview. The third section that is has points attached is managing subawards. And the fourth section is community collaborations. The fifth and final scored section of the track 1 application is outreach and communications plans. And so there are details underneath each one of these categories that help to explain how folks would get the maximum points in answering these sections. Okay, so moving on to track 2, we'll fund urban agriculture projects that are led by or serve underserved communities in urban areas. And we will be using again, for both tracks, the California Climate Investment Priority Populations Map to identify these priority populations, which include disadvantaged and or low income areas of California cities. And so these projects are really to clearly execute one or more of the benefits of urban agriculture. And the benefits include building social capital and gathering communities, providing education and skills development, supplementing access to fresh food, cultivating agricultural literacy, performing ecosystem services, supporting economic development, increasing food sovereignty, and piloting innovations in production. The grant term is also ends in September of 2026. That means the awardees will have until September 2026 to spend down their awards. The award amount for this track is between $75,000 to $300,000. The allowable expenses are anything within the realm of infrastructure, equipment, supplies, community engagement, technical assistance, operations, and workforce development. There is a more comprehensive list in the request for applications document, which is available on our website. Let me just let some people into the room who are waiting. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, and then so the reporting requirements for track 2 include submitting 5 to 10 photographs of the site, the project or the infrastructure where you plan to use some of the grant funding. So there will be 5 to 10 photos that you would submit during the application period, and then 5 to 10 photos that you would submit at the conclusion of the grant, so 28 months later. You will be required to submit annual reports, which include what happened during the first 12 months and every 12-month period thereafter, a standalone final report, and then also evaluation, including survey collection, data collection, as agreed upon during the creation of the final agreement, which is the contract period. Okay, the scored sections in track 2 include the following 5 headlines. So they're filing 5 sections. So there's the project team that includes points for providing a clear description of team members, roles, and for team members that are a part of the priority population. The second section is community needs section. I won't go into the details for each one of these headers because I want to leave room for questions. Then you have the project description section that is also a scored section. The fourth scored section is building resources. And then the final section that receives points in track 2 is the project and evaluation section. The timeline for this program is essentially right now, the application period is open through October 23rd. And then all of the applications that come in have to be reviewed by external reviewers. So that will be happening throughout the months of November through January. In February, we will notify awardees who have scored high enough to get an award. And then February through May will be the period where awardees will then work with CDFA to complete their contracts and their grant agreement. And then we hope to have the funding released for projects to start in May. And again, folks will have until September 2026 to complete their project. So how can we help? We can help by answering informational questions about the grant via email or these webinars. We also have lots of pre-recorded technical support videos that you can find on our website. How we cannot help is we cannot provide specific feedback on program ideas or project ideas, and we cannot assist with writing the grant application. So I'll leave this slide up in case there are any further questions, but sorry to rush so quickly through that. I just want to make sure that we still had the majority of the time for Q&A. So I see that people have raised their hands, and Lydia, you are the first person to have raised your hand.
Thank you. I have a question about the priority populations. When I look at the map, so for instance, one of our areas is in a community garden it's in Long Beach. It's
Okay.
located in a park. And so it says low income or a buffer zone, but you know, the people, there's the people who garden there are, I haven't yet asked the whole breakdown, but there's a lot of low income. I don't know how you all, what that CS4 exactly stands for. And I don't know how many of the people who live in places that are environmentally impacted. So I'm just trying to get a little, and then another point, I live in Section 8 senior housing. There's 250 people that live there, very low income. And yet it's you know, it's unclear whether it's in a buffer zone or low income, but I mean, it's clearly a block of 250 people who qualify. So
Yeah,
I
okay.
get a little more feedback on that. And then I think I have one more question, but yeah.
Sure, yeah. So with regards to the priority populations map, and maybe it's easiest if I actually share my screen so we can all see it. Priority populations map. Okay, so let's jump into this. It'll just take a second, and then that way, Lydia, would you mind putting in the chat the address of a location or some relevant space that you are curious about or having this question about?
Give me
Sure.
What it is, you could also look it up this way. It's Long Beach Community Garden.
Okay. All right.
The address while I have it right here.
Okay.
6. Oh, you got it?
Yep, it came up right away. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and then we can all get on the same page about what this looks like. So the priority populations map, there's a link to it on the application, and also on our website. So this little, oh, I see what you're saying. So this little yellow dot, okay, so it doesn't land in an area that's either a buffer. And for those who have not seen this map yet, in order to qualify, your project either needs to be led by or serve a population that is one of these layers. And you see it says disadvantaged tribal lands, disadvantaged communities, CES4, buffer low-income communities, and buffer low-income household eligible. Any of these categories is a qualifying, would make your project eligible to apply. The one that says at the very bottom, low-income household eligible, unfortunately does not qualify because it's the entire state of California. It doesn't have any real significance. So for your question, Lydia, if you have a demographic that's being served in this blue area, or people who are coming to your garden that live in a qualified area, then your project is okay. It doesn't have to physically be located within a priority population designated area, but it would need to be able to identify a census tract within one of these qualified areas.
So how
So
do I do that on the form? You know, is there a place to indicate that this is the address, but you know, X
yes,
number of people come from this area, or?
yes, I don't know if you've been into Amplifund already, but there is an opportunity to actually just say which census tracts you are serving. So you will be able to be specific about that.
Because the problem is the census tracts are big.
I know.
So, you know, it makes it
Yeah. If you know you're serving a low income, and you can be specific when there's a question in the application that asks what communities are you serving,
okay.
You're like Section 8 housing, this building, you know, this community, that would be fine. So you're serving part of the priority populations, even though your garden is right outside of it. Just try to do your best in terms of identifying which priority populations. Identify a census tract where some of your customers or people who receive your services are located, and that would be fine.
So just if I could, one quick follow up on the same. So one of our other communities have been, it's a question of soil remediation.
Okay.
So it's about the Exide spill. But these neighborhoods are outside the area of, you know, that was targeted for, you know, but they're still affected. So I'm just wondering, are you also concerned with communities that have been environmentally impacted?
Right now, the tool that is being used for eligibility is this priority populations map. So that will be the tool that has to be used, across the state.
Okay, all right.
Sorry. Thanks, Lydia. If you want to follow up with me longer, we can talk in a separate meeting. You can just email me and we'll set something up.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay. The next person I have in line is Alexi, I believe. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name.
No, that's good. I have two questions. My first question is I'm interested in the track 1 statewide, but I am not in a priority region, but the project would serve priority regions.
That works. Yeah, you just need to it either needs to be led by or serve priority populations. So that would be completely okay.
Okay. And then my second question was related to the grants that are the subawards that are given out. One of the components we would be proposing for would be a web-based urban garden communication tool. Kind of like a Facebook for urban gardens. And one of the components we would want would be to professionally pay to help create that website. Is that possible under the subawards? Does it go under technical assistance, or what's your thought?
That sounds like you're looking to get a contractor to come in and build a website for you.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, this would be under track 1.
Yes.
So track 1, organizations are able to spend up to $60,000 for an internal project. And this sounds like a project that is serving that your organization will be managing.
No, it'll be serving everyone because it'll be a statewide communication tool.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean serving. This is going to be a project that your organization, the applicant organization, is going to manage. So that would be an internal project. This isn't going to be a project that is owned or managed by a completely different organization. So the limitation then would be that you would be able to divert that $5,000 to $60,000 to cover the cost of your internal project.
Can I follow up with you by email or something?
Yeah, sure. Yep. Send me an email for sure.
Well, can you put your contact info?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep.
Sarah channel.
Bernal, CDFA.ca.gov. Okay. Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure thing. Why isn't it going through? Okay. Are there Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm wondering if there are people in the waiting room. Where is that? I'm sorry for the confusion here. I'm just making sure that no one's stuck in the waiting room that I missed somehow. Okay, so I believe that, I don't know why it's saying waiting room participants. Okay, so I'll take the next question.
Sorry, oh, you were gonna post your contact in the chat.
Wow, I actually thought I did. Okay, here it is. Bam.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Okay, great. Is it Dina? Diana?
Yeah. Hi. I'm trying to understand. I'm with Life Lab, and I'm trying to understand. We're a nonprofit, but we are serving a lot of schools and school districts, and so I'm wondering about the relationship in this grant between us as a nonprofit for Track 2, helping school districts turn. Like, there's one case where we have a softball field, and they want to turn it into a farm.
Mhm.
And I guess I'm trying to understand how this is different from, say, an incubator grant, and whether it's something like we can apply as Life Lab to help this farm and some other schools, but meanwhile, the school can apply for an incubator grant. So is there, yeah.
Are you talking, I don't know what you're referring to when you say an incubator grant.
Well, I guess I thought that Farm to Fork also had incubator grants that are
Okay,
coming
so
out.
Are you talking about, so the farm to school program? Yeah, so a separate grant program. And all I can tell you in terms of the urban agriculture grant program is that school districts are not eligible to apply to the urban agriculture grant program, but it sounds like you're a nonprofit that works with school districts that is eligible under the urban agriculture grant. So that's the answer that I can give you. I don't know if it actually answers the question. If there's something that I missed.
That's helpful. Yeah, that's really helpful. And also, is there a preference for if we work with one school district versus multiple school districts or the entire county? Because we do all three of those things.
No, as long as you are either led by or serving a priority population that's within that map that we just shared, all the projects that are serving demographics in those priority populations would qualify.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sure thing. Okay, next hand up is Hannah.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. My question is about budgeting, and I
Okay.
was wondering if there's a rating system, like a scoring system, that rates the amount asked for compared to the size of the total budget of the project, or the number of people served per the amount being asked for.
No, I mean, in the very, very speedy thing that I just went through those slides, the only parts that are scored are the categories that I had. The budget is not a scored section. So no, there are no points associated with the budget. I think that, yeah, I mean, the shortest answer is like, no, there's no scoring associated with the budget at all. So you just need to make sure that you're justifying whatever amount you're asking for, and that funding is really going to meeting the objectives of the grant, which are, those benefits of urban agriculture, and whether or not the demographics that you're serving qualify as priority populations and so on. So outside of the urban area priority populations and making sure that your budget really reads as something that is helping you meet your scope of work and the objectives of your project, there's no separate scoring associated with that. Did that answer your question fully?
It did. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks. Great. Guru Mantra. Seth.
Hey, hello, everybody. Seth
Hi.
had something.
Hi, I have a follow-up question related to the lady's question from
Long Beach.
Long Beach.
Okay.
Let's assume, as you looked up that community garden, and it's not in a priority area. However, what if they grew their food for a food pantry that was located in a priority area?
Yes. So if your project is serving a community that is located within those priority populations, that is an eligible project.
So if she had an agreement that said a food pantry and they submitted an application, let's say through the food pantry, and the food pantry located in a priority population with an agreement to receive that food and distribute it to their clients, then that project and that community garden would be eligible.
Yes, but even the original scenario of the community garden that's not directly located in a priority population, but is serving a community located in a priority population, either one of those scenarios would be eligible. So it either needs, as long as the project is led by or serves priority populations, and in this case, the food is being distributed to priority populations, that is an eligible project.
Okay,
Thanks, Sarah.
thank you.
Sure thing. Okay. I'm not seeing any other raised hands, but feel free to unmute yourself if you have a comment or a question. I was worried. Oh, hi, Tawny.
I was just, so on the letter of support for, should the template be my business or should it be the project?
So I'm guessing your business is not the one applying.
My business is applying, but I'm gonna name the project something else. So like my business name is Zenj, and it officially like leases the land, the farmland that we plan on using, but the actual project is gonna be named something else.
Okay, so when you're filling out your application in Amplifund, it's gonna ask like the applicant's name. So I don't know who's gonna, and it's gonna be the applicant name that is associated with the tax ID number that's gonna be then
That's
part of
Zenj.
the contract. Yeah, so
Okay.
whoever's going into contract with CDFA, which is all tied to your financials, right? Like your tax ID info, that would be the applicant. And that would be who we kind of want to keep associating any kind of documentation with, is that lead applicant whose name is connected to the tax ID. That's going to be the application that you'll submit through the Amplifund platform. So
Okay. So my letterhead should be Zenj letterhead, and then maybe it can just be like the name of the project mentioned in there somewhere, just so.
Yeah. So it sounds like you have like a really great project title that you love, but it's not your business's name. Yeah,
Right.
your project title is your project title, but you are still the primary applicant. So so use the name of the application. Absolutely refer to your project title if you'd like to, but the most important thing is to make sure that all of the documentation kind of is coming from and supporting the applicant that we'll see associated with that tax ID number and stuff. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Hello.
Hi, Daniel.
Yeah. Hey, Sarah. Thanks for doing this. Hello, everyone. I represent a new nonprofit here in Santa Cruz County.
Oh, cool.
Our mission is to help create online connections between local growers and local families. We have a program that we're initiating now called Find Your Family Farmer. And if we're successful at this, and we do expect to be, at the end, we should be able to allow families to come in, meet a farmer online, find out everything about their agricultural processes, and then further order their food for whatever time period online and have it delivered to their home. Some of the farmers that we're currently working with have that service already, but most of the farmers that I've met at the farmers market do not have that service. People have to go to the farmers market to buy the good food. And we're aware that there are a number of people, because of limited locations, limited parking, and limited hours, that there are a majority of people can't get to the farmer's market. And besides, socially, our trends today are all about delivery.
Hmm.
We want to make it easier and go with the flow of where we're going as a society. My question to you is, do you think this is, if I've told you enough, is this a track 1 or a track 2 enterprise?
So yeah, track 1, the main objective of track 1. So I'll break it down. Let's say you apply as a track 1 community-based organization, and you apply for whatever, X amount of money. The objective, the real core value that track 1 offers is that your organization would then be redistributing the funds in the form of sub-awards. So that means that you would have stakeholders in your community that are asking for anywhere between $5,000 to $60,000 for a project that they are then going to deploy. It would be a project that you are no longer managing. It is a project that you are providing sub-award funding. You're making it real easy for them to access this pool of funding from CDFA. You're managing all the contracts. They're getting the funding, and you're managing the reporting on their behalf.
Okay.
So if you're in a situation where you have lots of stakeholders that have their own project goals, or an organization that wants to buy a tractor, or someone who wants to get a shed, or whatever it is, track 1 would be the place that you would want to apply, because you want to redistribute funds to your community in the form of subawards.
Okay.
If you're not an organization that's interested in getting money and then redistributing that money out to stakeholders in the form of subawards, and you really just want funding to fund your own programmatic work, work that your organization is going to be managing the entire time, then you would be a track 2 applicant.
Okay.
Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Oh, yeah, very clearly. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, great. Fantastic.
Thank you, Sarah.
Sure. We have a few newcomers. Anyone who just came in, feel free to just unmute yourself and jump in, or you can use the raise hand feature if that's more convenient.
For the project members and like their roles, should we should follow that template, like separate, like community relation and their role? Because when I was writing, I was kind of like integrating it, but should it be kind of like separate? And then should the role, like I think I was too general. Should it be specific? Like they're actually going to be taking out the stuff for, I guess just like how detailed should that role be, or we should describe?
Yeah, so, okay, so that's great, because that section is a really valuable section. There's lots of points attached to that section, right? So things that you receive points for, and I can go back to that slide really quick if that's helpful for us to look at. So I'm going to share my screen really quick, because this is a specific question that I think would be helpful to just review that slide. And so what I'm going to do is look for the slide here. So we are, okay, so we're in the track 2, and let me make it bigger because I'm sure y'all are struggling to see it. Okay, wait. So, okay, so Tanya's just asking a question about the project team. And so the project team for track 2 has a total of 20 points attached to it. And you will receive points for providing a clear description of the team member roles, and for team members who are also a part of the priority population and or the community being served. So Tanya, I would definitely recommend for you to have like a specific, to follow the template in which that section about whether or not the team member is a part of the priority population. I would make sure to have that separate, so when the external reviewers are reading your application, they will be able to see that and give points to your project for displaying these aspects. So the more clear of a description of the roles that the team member plays is going to be helpful for gaining points, as well as clearly showing the connection of team members to the priority population. So yeah, I would say the more specific and delineated you are in describing each team member, the easier it will be to tally up points for being very clear about those things. So
Okay.
yeah.
And that's the opportunity to share, like, for example, the landowner that she, part of her story is that she had to pick cotton for a month before she earned her bus, before she earned a bus pass on her journey to California. So is it like, is that powerful? That's what you want to show, how they're part of that, because our angle is that we're Black, we're disadvantaged Black people living in an urban area. That's appropriate to kind of share that story.
Yeah, I mean, I think that anything that you want to include that helps folks understand who your team members are and how they connect to priority populations is going to be advantageous. So, but more specifically, I think backstories are fascinating and really interesting, but and you can, by no means are you are allowed to add as rich of detail as you would like, but don't let that replace describing the role that they play in your project.
Right.
So always maintain those two as your key focal points, being clear as to the role that they play in your project, and the history of that person may add lots of richness and value to the role that they play. So if that's a part of the role that they play, absolutely. But always try to bring it back to those two scored parts, which are the role that they're playing specifically to help your project succeed, and then also what their relationship is to your priority population. So
okay.
I hope
and
that.
then do we drill down to, like, because we're in Paris, California. So, overall, that's a low socioeconomic, disadvantaged community. Do we drill down to Black people as well? Like, and is that where I guess my question is, where are we clearly saying, like, our goal is low socioeconomic Black families, or
Yeah, so that's a great question. And I think that I'm understanding what you're saying. And so that also, I'm going to go ahead and go back to that slide. Oops, sorry, y'all. I'm going to go back to that slide that we were just looking at real quick, because that's a separate question that has points as well. So let me just go back to that real quick. So presentation mode. Okay, so let me admit this person. Let's go ahead. Okay, so that's still track 1, my bad. Let me go in, here we go. Okay, so the next scored section in track 2, you see it says community needs section. And then this says clearly describe your community served. So this is kind of what you were just discussing, and how your project meets an existing need. So in that section, you can really go full bore into your community, your goals, who you want to serve and why. And that is also a significant section. That's 25 points. That's a quarter of all of the points available. So definitely, and the keyword is clearly describing your community served. So the operative word, clearly, the clearer you can be in providing descriptions, the more, the easier it will be for the external reviewers who are not connected to this designing the grant or anything. They're going to be external volunteers, will be able to say, like, yep, this is clearly describing the community served. Yep, we see how this project is meeting an existing need. And that's 25 points out of 100.
Okay. Thank you for that
Yeah.
clarity.
Sure, and feel free to refer back to these slides that have this little bit of detail about how much points are available and what the scored kind of parts are that are associated
Okay.
with points. This slide deck is on our website.
Okay. And
Mhm.
and we should really like when they're giving us like word counts, we should try to like honor those word counts.
Oh, there really aren't a lot. There aren't word counts on this grant, really, for better or worse. Make it so that it's clear and it's getting to the root of the question.
Okay.
Long, flowery descriptions aren't necessarily valid, but please do not hesitate to add details that are important to your story.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure thing. Yep, no problem. Okay, so we have 4 more hands. I'm gonna call on Hannah. She's next.
Thanks, Sarah. Appreciated Tani's questions. A similar thought that I was thinking of. The slide that you were just showing, Sarah, I'm curious about if you could pull that slide up again.
Absolutely. Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Help me put language to it. If your team members, had the part of their story is being part of an underserved population, but that part of their story doesn't necessarily line up with the directly with the community need or the community. So there's many, unfortunately, populations that are underserved. And so if some of your teammates have elements of other underserved populations, should that be described, or should it only be focusing on the population you're serving?
No, because they are 2 separate questions. So, and I think if I'm understanding you, Hannah, when you're describing your project team, which you can see here has a total of 20 points, that's where you're going to be discussing the people who are working directly in your project, contributing to meeting the objectives and goals of your project. And in those descriptions, so you'll say, team member A is a member of this priority population XXX, and then you can describe that. That is a separate description from the second section, which is the community needs section.
Okay.
Yeah. So they do not, it doesn't all have to be all perfect. Like not everything has to correlate 1-to-1. It's just being specific about your project team members and their relationships to priority populations. And then separately, who is your community being served and how does your project meet those existing needs? Does that help you?
That's very helpful.
Okay.
Thank
cool.
you.
Sure. Okay. Guru Mantra.
Hi, Tani, could you put your contact info in the chat, please?
We're in Riverside. Sure. We're very interested in all things Paris as well. So anything help you, that would be great.
Yes, let's connect.
I also have a question related to this. We've already established that either the project has to be located in a priority population area or serve a priority population area. But the questions that have just come up about team, if you're serving a priority population area, but none of your team members are located or somehow connected directly to a priority population, other than the fact that they're serving a priority population, that's going to have an impact on score.
Yes, it will. There are points associated with organizations that are being led by folks from that community directly. So yes, there are points that you would get for community members that are part of your leadership team, essentially, or of your project staff. So yeah, if your project is comprised of entirely of folks who are not from a priority population, or are not part of the community being served, then yes, you would not be able to access those points.
Okay, so then in follow-up, World Be Well is located in, its headquarters is in a location that is a priority population. And so the fact that it's located there, do the team members also have to show that they're from priority populations, or that they're working for an organization that is located in a priority population?
So in order to get points for, here, I'll go back to sharing. Let me go ahead and just share that real quick again, because it might help provide a little bit of clarity. Okay, so yes, for your question, in order to get points for the project team section, there are two aspects of this. One aspect is being clear about the description of what each team member role is as it relates to the project. So there are points available for folks who clearly describe the role of their team members and show how those roles are helping meet the objectives of your project. Then there are additional points you would get if those team members are also a part of the priority population. So if they are not a part of the priority population, then those points would not be accessible.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, Daniel? Oh, you're on mute, Daniel.
Oh, I think my question was answered. Thank you.
Oh, okay, great. All right, perfect. We have Steve.
Hi, thanks for
Oh,
doing
Steve and Jocelyn. Hey, Jocelyn.
Hi, nice to see you and thanks for doing this.
Yes.
We're planning to apply under track 1 and have a couple of questions tied to that. So
Hey,
we
Steve,
have-
sorry, you're extremely quiet right now. It's really hard to hear you.
Hang on.
Okay.
Is that better?
Oh, yeah, that's way better. Okay, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. So
Sure.
we're planning to apply under track 1 and have
Okay.
a couple of questions about that. First one is, so we have several partners in the Sacramento region, several in the Bay Area region, and a few in the LA region. For that, should we be checking statewide in Amplifund? And then can we say LA region as the dropdown, or do we need to say the specific cities?
You do not need to say that. So when you apply for statewide, essentially what you're doing is in order to qualify as a statewide community-based organization, you just need to list a minimum of 3 and up to 10 census tracts anywhere in the state that are qualified priority populations. And once you list those census tracts, those are the census tracts that you're tying your service and outreach to.
Okay, great.
So that's the only thing you need to do. You don't have to be super duper specific. I guess census tracts are pretty specific actually. But yeah, you just have to list a minimum of 3 up to 10. And by no means are you limited to those. Like if you find in your process that there are people in another census tract that you did not list that make sense for your organization to serve, that are still eligible due to urban, being urban and being a priority population, please, by all means, do your outreach.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, great. And that was part of the follow-up. So we're planning to, do sub-awards and re-grants to, let's say 10 groups. Probably 4 of those we feel really clear that we would want to do a sub-award with them. And then through our RFP process, we would identify others. Is that fine if we identify some up front and we show the process for the others later?
Absolutely. So I do not assume that track 1 organizations are going to know everyone that they want to have, that they know all of their sub-awardees in advance. Because a part of track 1 is also to do this outreach and to advertise, hey, Steve's organization has funding for sub-awards and the process is this. And so, yeah, you do not have to know in advance every sub-awardee that you are going to sub-award to. So.
Okay, and this is the maybe the third part of this, then we'll see who else. And I hope I'm not like, splitting hairs here, but in the FAQs, it says that for projects located outside of designated regions, please reach out to the statewide CBO. So I just want to make sure are you planning to only do one statewide CBO, or it could be more than one? And then, okay.
There's more than, I can't say for sure because I'm not scoring the applications and I don't know
Right.
who's going to apply. If we only get one state award applicant, then that's what's happening. But
Right.
if we have lots of statewide applicants that are scoring well, and yeah, right now there's no written number of how many state awards will go out. It's just we can guarantee that each region will get at least one.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay, I'll hand it over to somebody else. And if there's more time, we'll probably come up
Okay.
with another question. Thank you.
And we'll be here next Tuesday. So okay, great. Daniel, is that the same hand up as before?
No,
or-
that's a new
Okay, cool.
one.
Great.
I wonder now, maybe that we at New Way Growers, we're focusing right now on 3 counties in the area that's commonly referred to as Central Coast California.
Okay.
Santa Cruz, Santa Clara, Monterey. However, when I looked at the program sheet, it seemed to only list North, South, and South Bay. And I
Mhm.
believe that South Bay ends somewhere around Los Gatos in Santa Clara County.
Okay.
So does that mean that we should focus on Santa Clara County?
No, do not let that just dictate where you're going to go. If you go to the FAQ, which is a document on the website, there's a little link to the FAQ. Hopefully the new FAQ is up. It has a list of every single city that has a population of 50,000 more
Right.
within each region.
Mhm.
So do the work that is meaningful to you and that is relevant to the connections that you have and the trusting relationships that you've built.
Mhm.
So I think, is your question mostly just that you want to serve a region, but you don't see the cities that you want to include listed in that region description? Is that sort of what you're asking?
Well, I can't say that I've looked at any particular cities in terms of the application process or the application information.
Okay. Well, do me a favor, Daniel, if you can, if you go to the CDFA Urban Ag webpage, let me see if I have this open. Do I have this open? Of course I don't. Do I? No. Okay. Go to the CDFA Urban Ag webpage. Maybe I'll share my screen. Oh, we only have one more minute. But and actually, Daniel, if you want to stay on for 2 seconds, I don't know. Is there anyone who has a lingering question in the last minute? Otherwise, I'm going to share my screen and help Daniel. We understand from Amplifund that if a specific question doesn't have a character count, then there is no limit. That's my understanding too, of characters we can respond to for that question. That is correct, Steve. Yes. Yes. Okay, bye, Tani. Bye, everybody. Thanks, everyone. There's one more minute, but Daniel, I'm going to share my screen and show you where that information is so that you can see it. So everyone who cannot stay past time, it's 1 minute until 1 o'clock. We'll be back here again next Tuesday, same time, same place. I think is this next Tuesday, the last Tuesday in September? It is. Starting in October, the office hours will change. So if you don't come next Tuesday, then your next opportunity will be the first Thursday. So in October, the office hours change to Thursdays at 4 p.m. And so my hope was farmers are done harvesting by 4. Anyone who couldn't make these daytime hours would be able to come and join us when they're out of the field. And there would just be a change in the schedule for that. So October is Thursdays from 4 to 5. We'll be doing this same process. But aside from that, thank you all for attending. And Daniel, I'm going to share my screen right now.
Thank you.
Okay. So, okay, so here we are. We are at the Urban Ag Program website. And so if you scroll down, you'll go, okay, we have the Supply for Urban Ag headline, the Amplifund, and here you can see all the videos for Amplifund, all the responses from public comment. So that's already over. Here you see the general FAQ. If you click on that bar, you'll get to this document. If you click on this link, it'll take you to our FAQ. And in the FAQ, there is a question that we will find together. Okay. So, and here you see all of the different cities that are included in the different regions. So if you're SAC region, these are all of the places that have populations of 50,000 people or more. Then we have Bay Area that has this entire list here. I don't know if this is helping you, Daniel, because I know you were talking about counties. But is this list helpful to you at all? We see Inland Empire has a ton of cities that are 50,000 people or more.
Well, Sarah, it's possible that we could do this statewide since it's just a database on a website. So there
You
really,
absolutely could.
there's no real reason to limit it to the 3 counties. It's just that we felt like we didn't want to bite off more than we could chew at first and learn how to do what we want to do and then open it up to the rest of the state.
Yeah, I can't tell you what to do with your project, but I don't see any reason. It's not necessarily going to be a heavier lift to classify as statewide. It's just kind of sharing with the community that you're not limited to one specific region alone.
Right.
So yeah, do whatever feels right to you, but yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, folks. Well, we're 3 minutes over time. I just have to give a little shout out to Jocelyn because she was my master's in public health research student who did some crazy awesome work for us in my last job as an urban farmer. So hi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. Thank you so much for all the information today.
Absolutely. Okay. So yeah, if anybody has any last lingering thoughts, otherwise we will be here next Tuesday. So, okay. All right, y'all. Thanks so much for everything. Thanks for your participation. We'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.